Hi guys, the Middle Maniac back again, and in this video, I'm going to be ranking the Poltergeist franchise from worst to best. So with that, let's begin. At number 5, the worst Poltergeist movie of all time, the sequel to the remake. Yeah, I mean, if the remake wasn't bad enough, the sequel is way worse. Well, I mean, it's probably as bad as the remake, but it's such a weird thing to exist because one, the remake itself is terrible. It did terrible. It was terrible, and it also did terrible in the box office and stuff like that. They didn't get a lot of money back from it, and so you would think that they would say, "Oh, this didn't do too well. Let's move on to something else." But no, they were like, "Oh, it didn't do too well. Oh well, let's make a sequel." That kind of logic doesn't make sense, really, and the sequel doesn't make sense considering that it's as bad or if not worse than the first than the actual remake to it. It just doesn't make sense. It shouldn't exist. It's just all around just a really terrible film. But yeah, that's at number 5. At number 4 is the remake. Yeah. So yeah, I guess the remake is ever so slightly less terrible than the sequel to the remake. I mean, I don't know. This one, just like with the sequel to it, shouldn't exist. Like it didn't need to be made. But yeah, it's just bad. Not too much to talk about. At number 4, no, sorry, that was number 4. At number 3 is Poltergeist 3. Um, this movie has its up and downs. I do like that it's takes place in a sort of a city apartment up on like a complex area. Up like on like what was it, a skyscraper of sorts. Um, I like the setting. I like the acting for the most part. But the villain, even though he's the same villain from the second one, it's not the same guy playing him because unfortunately the guy who played the villain in the second one passed away during filming, so they had to get someone else. And the guy who replaced the original actor just didn't have the almost like he didn't feel like it didn't feel like he fit the role. Like I don't know how to describe it other than the original actor fit the role perfectly. Of course, the guy who, again, the villain, Reverend Kane, the actor who played him, the original actor who played him, I forgot his name, but he was perfect. Whereas the guy who replaced him for the third movie it just felt like even though he was trying, he didn't bring the role to life. And he just didn't have that creep factor about him too. But yeah, I mean, the third movie is, I know a lot of people hate it. I don't hate it. It's just sort of an okay film. But yeah, the third movie, Poltergeist 3, is at number 3. At number 2 is the first Poltergeist film. Yeah, this is a lot of people's favorites, but I mean, it's a great movie from here on out. My number 2 and then my number 1 are great films. Oh yeah, and by the way, this is a UK release. I got this as an import because, again, I think I mentioned this before, but for some reason, even though the second movie is released on Blu-ray here in the US, they never released the first movie on Blu-ray in the US. Don't know why. Anyway, so this movie is perfect. Like, it has everything. Everything works very well. I think the score is one of the best horror movie scores ever. It's very eerie. Also, it's like it's innocent sounding at first, but it's very eerie. And the more you listen to it, the more sinister it gets. Like if you just listen to the soundtrack, like if you have like a CD or whatever, if you're just listening to the soundtrack, like it sounds sort of innocent at first, but then it gets more and more sinister. Not only as longer it goes on, but the more times you re-listen to it. But yeah, and then the acting is amazing in here. The practical effects are top notch. The story is really interesting. But yeah, just a really, really great film. I don't know. Also, if you are to get the Blu-ray version, the import, just to let you know, it's actually kind of hard to get the slipcase back on, just because it's an extremely tight fit. So it takes like a few tries to actually get it back on right. Anyway, but yeah, the original Poltergeist is at number 2. At number 1 is Poltergeist 2: The Other Side. In my mind, one of the best horror movie sequels of all time. I mean, they did what a sequel should. Take what was good about the first one and make it 10 times better. And then they also introduced one of the best horror movie villains, Reverend Kane. Like, that dude's creepy as fuck. Like, he's just maniacal. Like, yeah, he's sort of like, he doesn't like, he's not as like a, I guess sort of a villain that like, he's sort of a more of a, he doesn't like do anything like he's not a sort of out there villain. What I'm trying to say is like he's a villain where like when he does stuff, it has like a big impact, but he's very, very subtle. He doesn't like present himself as like a larger than life villain, or like he's not too egotistical like most villains are. He's a very subtle villain. Like, yeah, he's creepy. Yeah, he is. He's extremely powerful from what you see in the film, but he's very subtle about what he does. Like, not that he's evil, or he's like not like in disguise or anything, but I mean, very subtle on what he does to impact the characters. He's very manipulative, very sneaky. Yeah, you could tell right away. From just like the first time you see him, he's up to no good. But he's just one of those villains that like you never know what he's gonna do next. But yeah, and then of course the rest of the characters are really good. The acting's top notch again, like in the first film. The practical effects are probably even better than in the first film. They had a little bit better budget, a little bit bigger budget. And then also, this is the Shout Factory / Scream Factory version of the Blu-ray. So it has a bunch of special features. But yeah, just a really amazing, amazing movie. And it's at number 1. Alright, so hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys next time.